New Year's Day 2019. Happy New Year to everyone on 2019. We'd like to thank you and we would like to invite you to our actual ritual and celebration for this new year. I thank you for joining me just as usual. You joined me last year for the opening, of 2018. And we like to start this particular ritual off, with a celebration of our festivities. Hello, how are you doing, Daniels? How you doing, Lisa Lyons? And just bear with me as I prepare to bring you today. Yeah, I forgot. If I don't remember if I had those lit or not, but we might want to light them. So let me see if I'm going to light them or not. And we are broadcasting live from two different places. We are broadcasting live from our YouTube channel as well as from the Facebook. So bear with me here. I'm going to get the candles lit, and I ask you just to hope that these candles will light. I'm going to bring that candle in, as you can see. Just be patient with me. Taking a little bit longer. I forgot I hadn't lit these. Okay. I think we can get this ball game going. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you see, the actual candles are lit, and we're getting ready for our libation. Thank you for joining in on our libation. And we are filming from the YouTube channel as well as from our Facebook channel. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be behind the cameras. So if you just watch as I begin the ritual, in the name of Olodumare. Olodumare is the head of our belief system. And then there's Akamare, who embeds all three entities, which is Olodumare, Ilede, and Ori. And we believe in the triumph of the Godhead, and that they all have deities and they all have expressions of themselves. And we want to bring in Olodumare, who is the head of our life. And as you see the water, and water is neutral. And we bring water into our libation yearly. And you should do as I do, as you bless and hollow out this space in your home. We pour libation to Olodumare first, because he is the highest and the head of our life. We pour libation to Olodumare. Then we pour libation to Olorun. Olorun is also an explicit of the Godhead. We say libation to Olorun. We pour libation to Ori, which sits on our head. He is at the center of our being, and we pour libation. We say libation. As you know, that this is a time of the season to celebrate giving gifts, but it's far better to to give a gift than to receive a gift. And you can set your display up any way you like. I tend to like to set mine up different ways each year. And this particular segment of the ritual, we are going to give an actual direction for the year. We're going to give an energy reading for the year. And this energy reading can be done by any of you. And this energy reading is to bless and to hollow out our homes and our spaces. We're talking about the family this year. And after this particular ritual, we will be talking about early intervention for the family, for the youngest child of the family. So as we go into this ritual, we begin to look at casting oracles and energy reading. And each of you can do an energy reading by virtue of what you feel. It is based on your emotions, because energy readings can be done by anyone because of what you feel or expect. And I like to give the energy reading for the universe for this year, that I have been prompted to put the attention on the family and the youngest child at the center. Because if we are to save our heritage and if we are to save our mankind, we must remember that the youngest child must be focused on, so that we can save that youngest child, so that they can head up the army to fight for the causes of our people. And as you know, we've been thrown to every which way. Every which way we have been thrown to talk about how we are going to save our people, how we're going to save our world. What can we do to make life better for Black people? And I say that we are going to have to look at taking over the system and doing it better for ourselves. We cannot depend on anybody else to give us any stamina or any part of governing our lives. We are going to have to take that position. And when I say take that position, I mean that we are going to have to do our own oracle reading and determine for ourselves what is best for ourselves. We're going to have to use the spirit of Kuja Chajalia. Say that with me. Kuja Chajalia. The ability to name for ourselves, the ability to define for ourselves, and the ability to choose who our enemies will be. And the ability to not only name for ourselves, but to decide how we're going to govern ourselves. So this year, I put the child at the center, and I say early intervention. We're going to start early to prepare our children, to put them at the center of the circle so that they can take over and that they can lead this caravan. So we will decide who our enemies will be. There will be no more fabricating our enemies and putting our enemies out there. And for those of you who are thinking like Bob told people, or who are thinking like those colonizers, we're going to have to work on internally changing the mindset of our own people. Some of us have been around colonizers so long that we're now thinking like our arch enemy. And we are now perpetrating crimes on ourselves. But we've got to shake that off, and we've got to look at what is necessary for our children. What is necessary for us to begin to govern ourselves. And I'm going to put that water there because water knows no enemy. And we have the water and the fire here today. The fire here today that will help to govern us and make us aware of the fact that we've invited the ancestors in. And when we invite the ancestors in, we always bring fire up and light a candle, because we are inviting the ancestors to come and to be with us and to help us to govern ourselves and to be a part of what we're going to do. Now, a lot of people are not accustomed to rituals, And a lot of people don't know anything about rituals, and they're afraid of rituals. But you mustn't be afraid of rituals, and you must not think that these are done to hurt anyone, but they're done so that you will have an understanding that your ancestors have come here to join you, to assist and to aid you, so that you have the opportunity of having their spirits with you. Now, I want to say to the general population that I am not Christian, so don't expect for me to do the things that Christians do. I do not prescribe to any organized religion. I have a way of life, and it's called Yoruba. It's the way of life of the Nigerian people who believe in looking at Ifa. And Ifa is what will mend our broken hearts and help us to get back on track with life. Ifa gives us a way of life, and we're going to partake of that today by looking at oracle reading and doing energy reading for the year of 2019. And here's what I see, ladies and gentlemen, and here's what I have proclaimed. I have proclaimed that this is the year that we will train our children to transition and to take their proper places and to begin to guide and direct our future. We have been behind, and we are slowly gaining momentum, because this is a year that we have completed over 400 and some odd years of being out of slavery. We should have plans put in place. We should have activities that we are putting out there in the atmosphere. And to kick off this new year, I'm not only saying God bless our homes, I'm saying that the ancestors come in and sup with us and take control of our lives and give us the needed strength that we need to prevail. Because we have been losing, and on the downslide, we have had things taken away from us that we should be taking away from others. Now, no one's going to hand you your salvation. You walk out your salvation with fear and trembling. And no one's going to hand you your freedom. You must take your freedom by force. And about it. Once we know that we're indigenous people, what's the next step for us? It can't be just to talk about all of the knowledge we've gained about who we once were. Sure, we can't forget what we once were, but we have to have a plan of how we're going to live quality lives, and we cannot do that by mishandling our children. And our children are the prize. Whoever gets our children win the prize. So we don't want the system to get our children, so we must pull our children back close to us and whisper in their ear. Whisper in their ear the guidance that they must have when we're no longer with them, so they can carry on the caravan and they won't forget how to have a lifestyle. But if you do not pull them close to you and give them full instruction, they will live a reckless life, and their lives will not be accountable, and they'll long forget about you. They won't be able to birth in our purpose, nor our ancestors who suffered and died for them. They will go on living a new life, forgetting about their foundation of their heritage and of their ancestors. So we admire the ancestors, you say. Yes, we not only admire the ancestors, we give them homage and pay them homage in our lives, because we know that we're the sum total of where our ancestors came. Without our ancestors being here, we have no purpose, we have no aim or no meaning. But because we know they live, and they yet live inside of us, and we carry the momentum of our ancestors, and we have the sum total of their Cosmic records hidden in our medulla oblongata, where we tap into their spirits at any time. So we're going to give the oracle reading, and it is an energy reading. And an energy reading is by virtue of what I believe and what I feel. This is not based on casting any lot, reading any cowrie shells, or reading any type of mouthpiece that speaks, but just the energy. The energy that I am getting is that we have loved ones and children who have fallen the wayside of the directions of the elders. They no longer want to take directions from the elders. How must they learn unless they have a teacher? And how can they go unless someone sent them? We are acting with doubtful directions, having no instructions, knowing no way to turn. So if we don't get our youngsters in order, they will turn to the way of their transgressors and become worse than their transgressors. How many of us are yet still on probation to become white? How many of us still would like to know what it is like to be in the shoes of a white man or woman? You must get that out of your head, because their way is not always the right way. And we are not about the business of going backwards with our heads turned backwards and going the wrong direction. Well, that means that we are going to have to look at another universe. We cannot look at inheriting their earth and having their money and having their goals and objectives. They are not our goals and objectives. We do not adhere to the goals and objectives of our colonizers, because all we will do is further colonize our own people. And that is not something that we want to do. Never, ever here in this dispensation, we will not take on the mindset of our ancestors and governing our people in a harsh way that they have previously governed our ancestors. So let us get on with this celebration and festivity. The vision I see for this year coming and the frequency level I see is that now they're going to let us know that they've acknowledged our 400 years of transgression. But what are they going to do about it? Nothing, unless we reinforce the matter. So when it comes up and they ask each one of us, what must we celebrate to acknowledge our 400 years out of slavery? We must acknowledge that we are still captives here on this Turtle Island and have not been out of slavery yet. We are under a high-tech lynching, and that is no different than chattel slavery. We must acknowledge that we want to govern ourselves, we want to direct our own lives, and we must direct our own lives. And as we look at each one of our opportunities to govern our own life, we must not be too quick to take the mantle, to say that we're ready to take over. We have to get our own house in order, and we have to lay objectives, plans, and goals. We can't haphazardly run into this thing thinking that we know the answer to guide our people, then we'll soon quickly be ready to fail. And that's not what this is about. There is no option to fail. We will get over the grain house and we will master this task, but we will do it strategically and doing preparation and planning beforehand. And most of us are natural organizers, but we only organize when we are trying to impress our colonizers and the Anglo-Saxons. But we must organize for ourselves this time, knowing that this is the final blow, and that when we organize this time, it will put us back in the driver's seat where we have control of our own very lives. So we cannot afford to make any mistakes. We cannot afford to go out into the courtyard and call the people to prayer, knowing that we are still ourselves not ready. I don't care how much progress we made last year. I don't care how much momentum we made. We must still understand that we still have a lot left to do. But we can hastily speed up that time if we come into these rooms like Facebook and others and do the work and get the work done. But all of this mouth service that we're doing, this is a year that we'll do less mouth service and we will do more hands-on tasks. A number of the people that have been meeting on Facebook want to do something that is tangible, and they're sick of just hearing cliches and talk. And I know what they mean, because right now a lot of people are meeting up together and they're getting some things done. But there's a large portion of us that only want to get their foot wet, and sometimes they don't even mean to get their foot wet. They don't want to be involved. They want other people to take on the responsibility. So I say this year is not a year that we're going to run up to the government and say, hey, I like some of that money. I want to do an activity for the year of 2019 to talk about the progress we made in coming out of slavery. They have funds and they've set them aside. Now, our topic this evening is for early intervention. What do I mean? That means that we intervene early on for the smallest child of the family. And that means that we're starting with kindergarten, preschool, because those children are the ones who are being attacked. Unbeknown to us, those children are the ones who are being taken out of the home, like 20 going north. So we have got to sit in on what is happening with the removal of our infants and toddlers out of the homes into the social service system. How must we alleviate this? Well, we must sit on boards. We must go into courtroom, and we must be concerned, actively concerned about when and if that child will return back to the home. It's very vital that we should monitor those situations where abusive situations of the child being taken out of the home. But we can no longer just sit here and figure and not realize that some child has been taken out of the home. So as I look at oracles this year, I see that many children are going to be taken out of the home. I see that a lot of mothers are going to lose their authoritative ability to govern their own household. But I also pray that more fathers are going to come back home this year to pick up the mantle and to govern their homes and become a full nuclear family. So that can be done with our marriage centers, with us helping those couples to come back together. That can be done with us giving moral support to those married couples about reordering their own marriage vows and writing of their own vows and partaking of their own vows so that they can pay homage to the things that they promised. And we are not letting the government come into our house and take control over how we set up our lifestyle. We've got to embrace our original lifestyles of the African and live with some type of concept in our lifestyle for marriage as well as governing our children. We can no longer just put work at the top of the mantle and all we do is work and there is no guidance in the home. And these children are not interacting with your philosophy. They must have the philosophy of your spirit. They cannot take on the universe or the government's direction. So we've got to look at our family very seriously. Now, is there anyone that would like to speak? I'm going to do roll call here and see who we got here. Thank you for joining us, Donald, Daniel, Lisa Lyons, William McCraney, Joan Raymond, Pastor Frank Hammond, Nicole, Nikki, Johnny Levitt, Patricia Ware, Eric Montague, Heru Hall, Yolandan, let's see, L.A. Harris, Bruce Ward. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen. And Happy New Year to each one of you. And if you have a New Year resolution, I did put that little spot up there where you can talk. So I don't know if you want to say something about your New Year resolution. I wish you would give us your New Year resolution for the year and tell me how you planning on governing your household and what you are going to do different this year now that we've been out of slavery for over 20 years. What does anyone have to say about it? Excuse me. Can any of you talk or say anything? Because it's New Year and we don't want to keep you up all night, we're going to just prompt you to make some statements so that we can get out of here quickly and get back to what it is that we do. I am now featuring also on YouTube, and if you will go down below YouTube and subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and also follow me. This year we're going to be focusing in on reordering the marriage vow for the African American. We're going to be looking at reunification, marriages reuniting back together, not necessarily undoing their divorce, but coming back together and living as common law. There are many of us that have come back together and are now living as common law. We had the first marriage certificate. The second time around, you might want to write your own marriage vows, and you might want to also set the course of your life as to what it is you're going to do. And we're going to build our households back up so we give support to those family members who need support in their marriage so that we can be able to be a clinic to assist and aid you. Is there anyone that would like to speak out on behalf of marriage and what the institution of marriage means to you? I don't have my earphones on here, so I think I got to go get them to make sure that if we're going to have some volume here. Hold tight. Okay, I hope that I have volume there. And for the benefit of those who are with me on Facebook, I know the volume is loud and clear there. And for you YouTube followers, thank you so much for following me today. We have invited our ancestors in. We have lit the candles. We have poured the libation. And we have invited our ancestors in today. We don't want to forget about Kwanzaa. Milo Karingo created Kwanzaa and wanted us to remember the 7 principles: Ujamaa, Ujima, collective work and responsibility, Imani, faith, and Kujachajalia, ability to name for ourselves, to define for ourselves. Let us not forget about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, because they are still yet in effect. And each day we light those 7 candles to remind us of Kwanzaa, with the black meaning the people, the green meaning the land, and the red meaning the blood that we've shed. So be mindful of the fact that Kwanzaa should be acknowledged in your households. We got a little busy here and ahead of ourselves that we didn't put out our candles for Kwanzaa, but we know every time we call on those ancestors, Kwanzaa is in our heart. It is a way of life. And Kwanzaa, we must understand that there's not a traditional religion. It is a spiritual harvest where we gather the harvest and the first fruit and we give those to the people who are lacking. It's very vital that you should understand that Black folks need rituals and we need traditions and we need heritage in our household. And as long as we have those to hold on to, we will lift up a standard. And every household needs to lift up the standard. A way of life will guide you through. And we've lost our way of life. And that you do not have to be put into colonization and treated as if you're in bondage and slavery all over. You free yourself from religion, then you free yourself from slavery. But as long as you're attached to a religious motto, then you are in bondage. And we must understand that with the way of life, we do the things that we do because it's a way of life of our ancestors, because our God has demanded that we carry our lives out that way. And then we'll do things naturally. We will do things unprompted because it's our way of life. But as long as you are tied to a religion, you're in a colonizing faith, then you're stuck in bondage. And we must free ourselves this year of the bondage that we've been in. These religions have slown us every way but loose. And they're going to get worse because they're not governing their own bodies. They have an outside force called the 501(c) that's governing them. And they have to abide by them because they're part of the government. And when you're stuck in a government situation, you don't have full control of your life. And don't let me say that the preachers certainly don't have control, because they have to do as the masters say in order to keep their 501(c). And you know I'm not lying. And when you hear someone say they're tied to the church, they cannot make decisions for themselves. They are governed by their shepherd, who is governed by a 501(c). Now we have got to get that clear this year through our heads, because if we don't, we'll find ourselves tied up in religion and afraid to do anything and afraid to free ourselves because we are in a colonistic way like we never have been in. So it's vital that we take a look at our lifestyle and say, this year we're going to make a difference in how we guide our family. This year, we're going to place money in its proper perspective. And we're going to depend on God, him, she, or itself as to how we're going to govern our life. Most people govern their life only by the money and monetary gains that they have. And it has nothing to do with the quality of life. If you don't make a lot of money, you still can have a quality of life. You cannot base everything on the monetary gain. And some people who are rich financially are poor in their spirit. And we don't want to be poor in our spirit this year. We want to be able to see that we're prospering in our spirit and we're advancing. So when we do that, we know how to treat our brother. We don't have to kill him off all in the name of $1. We don't have to put him and her under because we need their filthy lucre. And we got to get money in its proper perspective this year. And we got to come out ahead, because we had so much less when we were living in the 60s, so much less, but we had so much quality of character. And we were better people then. How can we get back to that? How can we get back to that state of mind that we're going to live by the utmost morality? Morality is on the topic of discussion this year, and we're going to have to keep morality at the forefront of everything we do. And it's very vital that we get this message and we be true to ourselves, because some of us have lied to ourselves all in the name of getting extra filthy lucre. So I want to say, for the benefit of those who are wondering what we're talking about today, we're talking about New Year's resolution. talking about rituals to get out of bondage and to no longer be tied to something that bonds us into religion. And for people to say, what religion are you? I tell them I'm salubrious diversity. I respect all of the prophets. I acknowledge all of them, but I do not adhere to a religion that's tying me to a bondage. I got out of slavery a long time ago. I refuse for someone to put me back in slavery. And religion will certainly put you back in slavery. I don't care what any preacher says. I know that's what it's meant to do. And that's the intention, is to control those sheep's lives. So where are we at with this child being at the center? What does that mean? That means this is the year that we teach our children and pass on the lineage and pass on the knowledge so that they can take over and carry the baton. We are so afraid of giving information to our youth and passing on that information so that they can carry us through. We much rather them fight a war outside of our communities and not fight the real war that's right at our doorstep. So I want to say to you today that do your own readings. Begin to search out the oracles of your own household. Make resolutions and also make prophecies. But don't forget to give solutions to how you can best govern yourself. We always forget to give solution. We have a lot to say about what the problem is, but we never have a solution to our own problem. Let's try to be solution-oriented and come up with our own solution for governing our households and ourselves. And I'd like to bid you a happy new year and tell you that all things doesn't stay the same. Everyday things are changing, and they're changing for the better. And some things we're growing out of, and some things we have overcome. And just like Dr. Martin Luther King said, we shall overcome. Hey, we've already overcome. We're in a new dispensation. We're in the year of 2019. That means that we're no longer up under bondage, and we can shake the bondage up under our feet. We've been now clear of slavery for over 400 years. It's time to do something with our freedom. So what you gonna do when you get your freedom? And how you gonna act when you get your freedom? And where you gonna take freedom to? And when freedom comes, how you gonna act? We've got our freedom now. And they've even talked about how long we've been outside of slavery. But nobody seems to be doing anything different other than acting like they're still in bondage. Well, you're no longer in bondage. You have been freed. And now you can get up just like the elephant, take the stump from around your foot, and you can walk outside that circle. That means that we are free to speak out against injustice, and we're free to create solutions for our own problems. And it's very important. You have a destiny. You have a destiny like a city on a hill. You have a destiny. We all have a destiny. And we've got to find out what that destiny is. And we've got to be about our Father's business. Because right now, we cannot wait for Mr. Enforcer to come in and give us direction anymore. Some of you might be losing your food stamp. Some of you also might be losing your housing. Some of you might be losing your Section A. Some of you might even be losing your jobs. But whatever you do, don't lose your mind. Because there will come a time that you thought you have lost your mind or almost lost it, but you got to hold on to your mind. Because that's the only thing you have to govern yourself. You have to understand that you are going to be held accountable for your own lifestyle. And you no longer can task Mr. Enforcer for what you haven't done. You got to step out on faith and believe that God will be there to help carry you through. Because right now, as we look at this society, our children have lost faith with who we are. The story has not been told to them. A lot of them are going wayward. We've got to gather our children into our own and whisper into their ear the story of our ancestors so they can carry the baton. Hand the baton over to your children. Hand it over to them and let them lead the way, because they're now at the center of our direction. Thank you so much for this New Year's resolution. I hope you will go home and perpetuate your rituals as I have done. I hope you will go home and remind your family of the importance of pouring libation and for calling on the ancestors. And I bid you farewell, and I say Happy New Year to all of you, and I say libations. Oh, double. Baba Booey to you, y'all, and Hotep.